This is the Personal Development Unplugged podcast and the mantra of regrets. Regret is such a horrible thing. I think it's a horrible thing when I look back and think of the things I didn't do and I wanted to do and I could have done and should have done. And I regret that if I'd have just had a different outlook, a different process, a different thought pattern, as it were, and I did the things I wanted to do, where would I be today and where would I be next year? And that's what we're going to talk about now, okay? So come and join me and never have a regret again. Have a listen after this. Hey, this is the Personal Development Unplugged podcast, where we use hypnosis. Yeah, hypnosis. NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. Don't worry what it is. It's just a mass of processes that we're going to get you to change. Change to let go of anxiety, low self-esteem, and create massive supreme inner confidence. But that's confidence in your competence and competence in your confidence, which means you can do anything and be safe, to enjoy the world as it should be, with you at the helm, creating the life that you want. That's what this podcast is about. You and being the best you could be, singing from your real voice, aligned with your mission, aligned with your passions. That's what it's about. So if you're interested in letting go of anxiety, if you're interested in letting go of fear, guilt, all those blooming syndromes, imposter syndromes, and every little bit of the mind which is negative, then have a listen here, because we've got some wonderful processes and lots of good conversations between you and me to get us both thinking in such wonderful ways. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Just take the chance to have a listen.
This is Personal Development Unplugged with Paul Clough.
In simplicity, there is genius.
In simplicity, there is genius.
Hey, my friends, back for the longer podcast. And I've called this episode, The Mantra of Regrets, which really isn't the most empowering, motivating, and is completely really the wrong thing and the message I want to give, which is when you're into the art of communication, isn't the best place to start, Cluffy. But I wanted to just get you that we do have, I think, a mantra of regret. And I'm hoping that I will say something to you that you will never regret. You'll never regret doing. And you're going to go, do you know what, Cluffy? Thank you. But first of all, it's all about regrets, which is painful, isn't it? And I was thinking just a minute ago, you never really understand pleasure until you've had some pain. And life is full of pain and pleasure. And it's how we use, I guess, and experience the pain to learn from, so we can experience even more pleasure. But regrets, what is it about regrets? You know, looking back and saying things like, "Oh, if only I'd," and if I should have done, and things like that. Have you got that too? Have you got that in your life? I'd be surprised if you haven't. I really would. I mean, I've got loads, and I've been doing a lot of stuff, and I've still got loads and loads and loads of things that I regret not doing. Do you remember on a previous podcast, someone said, I think it was Seth Godin, that you never regret doing the things you've done, you only regret the things you didn't do. In general, mostly, that is. So, what are the things that I've regretted? Give you an idea. Well, I bought a guitar years ago now. Well, years ago, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. So I've been playing the guitar for 15 years. How good are you, Cluffy? Bloody useless. Seemed a good idea at the time. I think it was my Harley Davidson. Because that would frighten me, driving a Harley Davidson car. But I think it was my midlife crisis of a sort. And I thought to myself, I'm going to learn to play the guitar and I'm just going to be so good. And I wish I'd just spent that bit more time practicing. Because I did go to a teacher once a week. and then once a fortnight. And then I thought I could do it myself because it's only a bit of time a day, isn't it? And I can still play the same 6 songs, not all the way through, but I do a little bit of the redemption song on it. But hey-ho. But I haven't given up. But I do have a regret that in those years, if I'd just spent that little bit more time, a little bit more focus maybe, having a direction of what I wanted to do, not just learn to play the guitar, because that's too general, isn't it? Looking back now, it's too general. But if I'd have had a goal and some practice, a structured practice, maybe I'd have got there. Well, I know I would. I know I would. But what other regret do I have? Or regrets? Well, you've heard me talk maybe that I'm trying to get back to some art, but a long time ago, I got into airbrush painting because I used to love art years and years and years ago when I was a little boy, and I've told you about that, where I wanted to become like an artist for the Marvel comics, DC comics, drawing superheroes. I wanted to be an artist as a profession, and was always had that belief that I was given that belief, well, you'll never make it because most people don't, and you're not that good anyway. So I didn't. And then over the years, it was one day, another sort of midlife crisis, I decided to teach myself airbrush painting. And in hindsight, it's one of the most difficult things I could do because I had to learn all by myself from books and a few videos. This was before the time, in my head anyway, of YouTube and getting things like that. So it was all out of a book, maybe an old VHS video player. Wasn't even on a CD disc type thing. And I got pretty good at it. And I did spend a lot of time practicing. And I did have aims in mind because I knew what picture I wanted to make. So I got my creativity going, I got my motivation going, and it was going to teach me things. But it was bloody difficult. And I think sometimes the mistakes I was making just made it more difficult. And I got this sort of belief in my head, well, maybe I'm not that good. Or maybe this is just too hard. But thinking back now, if I had just pushed a little harder, just gone past that boundary, that comfort zone, that familiar zone, just pushing past that boundary, I just practiced that a little bit more, really stuck at it, I'd be bloody awesome now. Can you imagine doing 20 years of that? That would be absolutely awesome. Because I think it was before the days I was doing hypnosis. It must have been. So that's probably 30 years ago. I know what you're saying, Cluffy. It cannot be that long ago because I just know you're not that old. And you're right, it's all in my head. I'm thinking it's that far away, but it really isn't. But let's play. Let me have that little blip in my imagination, my memory for that. But it was a long time ago, but I would have been really good. And I regret that. Because I wonder what could have come of playing the guitar, becoming an artist in a second life, as it were. I wonder just what that would have done for me. How my life would have been so much different. And then, you see, I got to thinking, what was I thinking back then? What was I thinking about? Those are 2 examples, and I know there's more. But maybe my belief was something like, this is too hard. And I'll never be as good as them. And isn't that the worst bit? It's like the reverse of sort of imposter syndrome. Not that you'll be found out, but you actually found yourself out. You're telling yourself you'll never be as good as others. So you've got imposter syndrome and the reverse of that going on at the same time. And who makes that up? Who tells you that? You. Oh, sorry, not you anyway. Me. I was telling myself that. Telling myself how crap I was going to be. Now, I know that did something for me, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I was thinking, also, it's a little bit risky to spend all this time on doing the stuff that you love. Can you think about that as an excuse? It's risky doing the thing that you love. Because I did love doing it. I immersed myself in it. And the thing is, it was just all made up in my head. All made up. And the thing is, and we've talked about this before, we've mused about it before, that thing is, what you think about most of the time is what you get, whether you want it or not. And initially, like on that spray painting, it was really difficult, but I thought about it all the time. It was constantly in my mind, and I got, for what I thought at that time was pretty good. But then to get that one extra step, and we'll talk about the steps of learning in a minute, that one step, and I buckled, I let it go. And that's where you get that regret. But the thing is, I've decided now that it's only a regret if I don't learn from it. And it doesn't matter how long ago it was, if I can learn from it now, from something, let's just say 20 years ago, not the 30. If I regret something and I learn from that, then I can use it now. Because the beliefs I had back then, the things I was telling myself, were they true? Were they based on a fact? No, they were based on bullshit. And whose bullshit was it? It was mine. Okay, some of the beliefs probably been given to me by other people, or I say given to me, I accepted, I chose to believe by other people, like not being good enough, and not many people survive and make a living out of doing these things. You've got to be exceptional. But hey ho, there was bullshit. But I bought into that. Because if you think about it, what is hard about practicing? What is hard about practicing? Yeah, it can be a little bit boring sometimes. But it's only boring if you don't look back and notice how far you've come, how you've improved. Because think about it now. Think back at the stuff you're really good at. Now, the stuff you're really good at, you're just good at now, aren't you? It just comes naturally. It's unconscious. I bet if someone said to you, and if I said to you, how do you do that? You wouldn't have a bloody clue. Most of the answers to that question when I've asked people and I'm trying to model their skills, it's, well, I don't know, Paul. I just do it. And we have to go through a series of questions, say that again, Cluffy, clearly, a series of questions to find their steps in their little program or processes that they do, their strategy. That's a better word for it, their strategy. But think about it now. The things that you're really good at now, I want you to go all the way back in time to just when you were first starting. How bloody good were you then? You were probably rubbish compared to you are now. Now, you might have been pretty good compared to other people, but you were still pretty rubbish to where you are now. But you had a belief inside you. You had a belief, and you had, it's important to you, so it isn't a value. And that belief you'd have would be about your identity. I can do this, something like that. I've got this. It'll be something simple, I know. And you'd have that value that this is important to me because it's given me enjoyment, or it's given me fulfillment. It's given me something which is really deep, subtly, very deep. And you did it. And some of those things might have been hard. Some of it you may have fallen over. You might have tripped up. But you got up more times than you fell over. You tripped up. Because you just got there. Now, I've got a couple of examples of how that can happen. My son, Luke. Now, he's a great hypnotist. But in between learning and getting very good, well, being a master at hypnotherapy and hypnosis, he had always been interested in magic. Not magic, woo-woo-la-la magic, but, sleight of hand. The magician. And he's always been interested, but then one day he decided he was really going to learn how to do magic. And he would spend initially hours in front of a mirror just making a card disappear from his hand and then come back into his hand. And then over time, he spent just more time. But it was important to him, and it gave him pleasure. Just the little things, because it wasn't like leaps and bounds. It was persistence and patience and perseverance. And we talked about 3 Ps before. And he had them in bucket loads. To the end, in the UK, there's a place called the Magic Circle, where if you become a member of the Magic Circle, you do a demonstration in front of magicians. And they award you like the magicianship. And he did that all by himself. He got through. He had a mentor, just at the very end to help him through. But he is now part of the magic circle, a bona fide magician. Now, isn't that lovely to say, I'm a magician? I love saying I'm a hypnotist. But now he can say he's a hypnotist and a magician. And the thing is, he did it all himself. And no one told him how stupid he could be, by how foolish believing that he could do it. Because he just did it. And I can remember with myself going to my very first hypnosis training thinking, what the hell am I doing? And looking at my first exercises with people trying to put them in trance and things like that, thinking this is weird. I don't understand all this stuff. And some of the words were way out there, and I had to find my own learning process. But once I found my own learning process and the desire and the motivation and the importance and the belief in myself of what I was capable of doing, it went stupendously well. And the things I've done since that, setting up therapy clinics, becoming a trainer, just doing wonderful things with wonderful people. In fact, I've done things like demonstrations in front of hundreds of people on a stage. And when I look back at that, I don't know who that Cluffy was to be able to do that from where he started. But I love it. And I don't have regrets on any of that. It was difficult. Some things I made a right cock up of. But I still love it now. And I never regret any of that. But you see, there's a sequence of learning. We've talked about it before, and I think it's important that we talk about it now. Is you see, when the first step of learning, as it were, is called unconscious incompetence. Big words, unconscious incompetence, which really means you just haven't got a clue about anything. You don't even know that the subjects exist. So I didn't know that before I've found hypnosis. I didn't realize what hypnosis was, didn't know anything about it. Luke didn't know anything about magic. Nothing at all. It's just not in your life, as it were. And then you become consciously incompetent. What? Consciously incompetent? Yeah, because you do know about it now. You know about it, but it's really, really difficult. No, you just know, the subject exists and there's a little bit of magic there, maybe, a little spark that makes you want to learn a little bit more. That's the second step. So we've gone from unconscious incompetence to now conscious incompetence. So now you know you don't know. I didn't know before, but now I know I didn't know. But here it is. And then as we get into a subject, into something that we want to learn, we become consciously competent. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? I'm consciously competent. But that just means things are really clunky. You know the steps consciously. But when you try to do things consciously, it's bloody hard. It really is hard because you're always thinking. Every step of that process, you're thinking. With me, with hypnosis, I had to remember the process. I had to get my words right. I had to get my physiology right, my tonation right, all this stuff. And you're doing it consciously, and it's really, really clunky. But for me, it was magic. Same with Luke. When he was trying to make that card disappear, it was really clunky to start off with. And then all of a sudden, he could do it a little bit better each time. But he really had to think. And then we go to the magic of being unconsciously competent. What does that mean? It means it's just natural now. It means you just get to do it. Yes, you still have to practice. Yes, you are still stretching yourself, because if you just stay where you are, then, you stagnate. But then because you've got that unconscious, it's this thing where I just do it, but then you just do it, and it allows you to do even more, where you then become consciously competent about something else, or maybe consciously incompetent. I found something else I didn't know about, and I want to do that. And then I become consciously incompetent and competent and all that stuff. And we just keep learning and learning. And the thing is, in between those stages, and I think this is where sometimes, certainly it got me, between those stages of that really conscious incompetence, I think, the conscious competence, where I'm doing it but it's really clunky, and trying to get into that natural way where I'm getting pretty good at it. There's some stages where we just tend to stop along the way. It's like treading water. Things just don't seem to be moving as fast as they did, because we learn something and things happen rapidly. oh, this is really great. And then it just stops for a little while. Have you had that before? It's like when people lose weight. They lose weight and the first month they lose a tremendous amount of weight. And then it doesn't fall off quite so quickly, doesn't disappear. And they give up. And that's the problem. We tend to give up in that place of just nothingness, as it were. But if we stay there for a moment, because I viewed this now, because when people told me about it, I saw it as a springboard. And we're standing on the springboard because we're still trying to practice that stuff that we're to get good at. And we want to move on to the next bit. And we're a little bit confused. And confusion really just means that we've got all the information, but we haven't put it in the right order or sequence. And the syntax is not quite there. And then all of a sudden it falls into place and boom, we're at the end of that springboard and we springboard and we have that another rapid learning, another way of getting better all the time. And then we get it again. I mean, just imagine now the things you haven't done if you just put that same practice in. But maybe not even quite so much, but regular practice. Where would you be? I know where I'd be. But the thing is, we even get to that point now, we're going to give ourselves an excuse. Well, I haven't got enough time now. Or I'm getting old. Who am I at this age to start learning new stuff or do the stuff I really wanted to do before when I was young? Because I was young back then. And to be honest, just think about those beliefs then. What are those beliefs based on? What data? What facts? There isn't any. It's bullshit again. BS. I'll write in my notes, and I won't say it, but yes I will. They just said, fuck no. That was my reaction to that. No, I'm not going to give myself those same old beliefs or the same effect of those old type of beliefs. I haven't got time now. I'm too old. What's a point? No, if it's going to give me joy, it's going to give me something of interest. It's going to spark my imagination, and who knows where it's going to lead to. And it could be at any age now. Those beliefs do not exist now. They cannot exist because they're not based on anything of fact. You see, those things that you are good at, you had an intention, you had a motivation, you had a value. And that's all we've got to find. And you see, I know why we have these limiting beliefs again. Because who wants to look silly? Do people look silly anymore? But in your head, I don't want to look silly in front of my friends when they say, why are you doing that now at your age? Maybe I'm just talking about myself, by the way. Why do you want to behave that way? What's the point? Are you going to make a lot of money out of this? I mean, I'm talking about my podcast right here with you. Do I make money out of it? Hell no. Do I have fun doing it? Hell yes. Do I enjoy getting better at it? Hell yes. Hopefully, if you go back to the very first ones, you'll notice a huge difference. Now I really feel like I am talking just to you. And I also know I'm really just talking to me. Not because I'm in a room by myself, but because a lot of this is my stuff and me telling me from my unconscious mind, as it were, what I need to do. So we're in this journey together, this adventure together. You see, there's that positive intention of, don't be silly, you're not looking silly, and we don't want failure again, because what happens is we think about those things that we didn't do. Well, we just think about that and go, well, I'm really good at some stuff, and if I had spent just a little bit more time, I'd be bloody good. And the thing is, thinking about it now, one of the notes I made is, when I think back to the things I didn't do, I didn't carry on doing, the things I have regret for, what did it actually stop me feeling? Did it actually stop me feeling silly? Did it actually stop me feeling a failure? Did it actually stop me feeling an imposter? Did it make me feel, that I wasn't good enough? No, it didn't stop me feeling any of that. In fact, it made me feel even more of that. It actually stopped me feeling satisfaction. It stopped me feeling proud of myself. It stopped me feeling the enjoyment and joy, the connection. So much more. Every positive emotion, it stopped me doing. And I wonder if you can, if that resonates with you. All the things you didn't do, the things you regret, if you had done them, would you feel those feelings? And are you prepared not to learn from that? Because the learnings for me is, hell yes. I even said fuck yes on my notes. Because I want satisfaction. I want to be proud of myself. Yeah, I've got a bit of ego. we've all got ego. It's very difficult to put ego aside, as a lot of people say. And sometimes my ego needs to be bathed a little bit to make me feel good. Because when I feel good, but good in the right way, doing good for others. That selfless service. Don't do it all the time? Hell no. Human. But that's my intention, trying to do things like that. Do I believe it's possible now? Hell yes. Because I want that satisfaction. I don't want to live in a land of regret. And I don't want you to live in a land of regret. Because that was pain. And I've had my pain, thanks you. I don't want too much more of that. I can have that level of pain that I've had in the past, and that could be my measure of all the wonderful pleasure that I can take. So I don't have to have any more pain to measure against the pleasure I'm having. I've had it before, so now I'm just going to go forward and just really look to do the things that will give me those feelings of being proud about myself, being the real me, showing up, having the motivation, having the empowerment. And if I can then bring in the things that I did do, the things I have achieved, that good feeling, I can think now things would be, they might be difficult, but they would be achievable. And I'd enjoy doing that stuff. So what about you? What about you? Come on. I've talked about my stuff. Let's take some time just about you. Get a paper and pen. You can have a pen or a pencil, or you can have a blooming crayon. I don't mind. But I want you to write things down. Why do I write it down? I tell you every time. Because as you think of one thing, and then you think of a second thing, they fall out. And it's a thing. We find it really difficult to keep in mind 7 plus or minus 2 things in our head. So it could be 5, it could be 9. And it's part of hypnosis induction to get people to go into trance, because the brains just close in when we get too much information. So we write it down, therefore we only have to think of one thing at a time. So first of all, let's just have a little look at the type of things that you do regret doing. Oh shit, Paul, there's pain. Yeah, a little bit of pain. Because we want to learn from them, don't we? We want to just look back and say, well, okay, if I had done it, what pleasure would I got? And you can't get the time back. Time is just a construct. That was just gone. That time's just gone. So what do you regret not doing, not being, not having? Those things that, like me, not progressing with that guitar practice, not progressing with my art, I would love to have learnt more, read more, and just make a note of it. So we can understand that these are the things that I would have loved to have done. I regret them. Hey ho, that's what we're going to do. And when you think about it, and you think about those things that you didn't do, what did you believe about yourself back then? About that particular context, that thing? And don't think too hard, by the way. This is not an intellectual exercise, because I can't do intellectual stuff. Oh, no. This is all about just saying or writing down what comes to your mind, because that's like an unconscious answer to the question. So what were you believing about yourself in that context? And if you can't, nothing comes to mind, just think to yourself, what must I have been believing about myself in that context? And do it right now. Ask your unconscious mind, what was I believing about myself when I didn't do this? And just notice what beliefs come out. And you may even find there's some similar beliefs in each, between the contexts. And as you look at those beliefs, just say to yourself, or maybe look at them and just ask a question. Was that really believable? I know you did believe it back then, but as you look at it now, is it really believable? Did they have any facts? Did they have any data? What did you base it on? Of course you didn't. You didn't have any facts. The only fact you might have had was it might be difficult. But there's other stuff you've done which was difficult. So that doesn't really count, does it? And the thing about it, we've still got time. Whatever age you are, you've still got time. Do things that bring you joy, bring you love, bring you that sense of achievement, that feeling of being proud about yourself, to show up, to give selfless service. You've got plenty of time. And you can make time, because we've all got 24 hours a day. We can make the time to do this. But the thing is, let's have a look at something else. Look at the things you have achieved. like I went through with you and like I explained about Luke, my son. What things have you achieved? And as you think back now, those difficult parts that you surpassed, you found a way, you got through it. What does it feel like now? The things you achieved. And I know because they come so natural because you've got that unconscious incompetence. You just do it without thinking. But think about it now. Having gone through those 4 stages of learning to get to become good at what you do. How does it make you feel to having gone through that adventure? Maybe it was a journey on that way because sometimes that part of that journey is quite hard. But what do you feel about yourself now? And what do you believe about yourself? And what do you believe about the way that you could do things? Are things now possible? Because of course they bloody are. Because if you could do that back then and be as good as you are right now, you could take that and put it into anything at all. And if you put that same effort in, and it's just changing that belief and knowing sometimes just how important it is to you. What will it get you? And I think it's that thing that I've been struggling with. I've been looking over the last few days and going to continue looking at the things I want to do because I've been putting them off. I even had the question or the thought that come to mind was, what's the point? What's the point? I'm not going to do anything with this stuff. And my mind came back and said, well, you just enjoy doing it. You'll be spending your time with enjoy. And if you can spend more time feeling good about yourself and feeling good, life will be good. And you'll spread that to other people. And that was good enough for me. And the thing what I want you to do is think of the things you would like to do now. And they don't have to be the same things that you regret doing. You could be the same things, but maybe there's new things you'd like to do, or maybe there's a different kind of look at the old things you regret doing. Maybe there's a different way or something like that, but slightly different that you would love to do now. If only, it's like that, if only. But before we get to that, if only I'd done it. No, if only I get to do this now. And what we have to do is commit. Commit to just a small time and find that time. And how do you find that time? When you turn off bloody Facebook, you turn off the TV, you turn off surfing the net, you turn off anything that isn't productive. One of the questions you look at is this going to do my life better or worse? Is it going to make me better or worse? Just going down rabbit holes on the web and things like that. Well, of course it isn't. So before you do that, you say, oh, no, I'm going to do this. And you commit and you schedule it. And you just do a little bit at a time. And I want you to commit to doing this. Now, I originally wrote a note saying I want you to do it for 30 days. Because I did something for 30 days. And I was amazed how it's quite weird that after about 10 days, and what you do is you cross this off on a diary. So day 1, you put a big cross. Yes, I did that one thing. Maybe it's only 20 minutes. Maybe it's only 5 minutes. But you did something towards that project, towards that goal, towards that thing you want. And the next day, another cross. And you get to about 10 days and you're going, I'm not stopping. I am not going to let this diary beat me now. I'm going to keep those crosses going. And I did. 30 days, I did a load of art, day on day on day. And when I look back at those 30 days from the day 1 to the day 30, in between there's some really good stuff and there's some crap stuff. But generally, it was getting better all the time. And I felt good. And I look back at those 30 days and how did I feel when I was doing it? I was in a zone. I was in this weird place of nothing existed in my head. That was good enough for me. Just to get away from life, as it were, just for 20 minutes. To be in the zone, my zone. And the thing is, it's easy as that, by the way. It is as easy, but you have to pick something small, pick a small time period and just do it. And I know it sounds so silly, but this is this conscious competence bit. I'm just going to do it bit by bit. I've got a plan. This is where I want to go. Where would I like to be at the end of that month? Now, you could say, well, it's a whole month. And that's just, everyone can do something for a month, but everyone can do something for 10 days. You're not going to lose any part of your life for 20 minutes a day in 10 days. Then you can extend it to 30. And then the rest of your life, by the way. Tell you that bit, but that's what happens. if you like it. But what you'll find out is you either like it or you decide, I don't want to do this anymore because it's not fun. And now you don't have a regret. In fact, you're proud of yourself because you've made a decision. You've chosen to do something. And then you go, I'm going to do something else. And the thing is, just schedule it. Schedule it in a diary. So you know now, at a particular time of the day, you're going to do that. And you write it in a bloody diary. And you have it on your phone as an alarm. And you might go, oh, Paul, this is so difficult. No, setting an alarm is not bloody difficult. Writing in a diary is not difficult. Nothing is difficult. They're your old beliefs again coming to mind. But the thing is, if you don't do it, you're going to feel so silly. And you're going to miss out on all that joy. And also, when you think about it, you'll never regret it. Isn't that awesome? And in that way, we will start to, I think, become more curious of the things we can do. And as you see, you'll be setting up this process in your mind and your unconscious mind like a habit of looking for things that are going to give you pleasure. And as long as that pleasure is ecological, which means it's good for you, no one else gets hurt, so it's good for other people around in your life, and it's good for little old planet Earth, then boom. That's all you need to do. So if you're not hurting anybody and you're making yourself feel good, those people in your life will get to feel good because they'll connect with you when you're feeling that way. Now that's a win-win for me. But you've got to do it. This is not a thing that you just think about and go, Cluffy, that was good. Yeah, I understand that. In fact, I knew all of that. I knew everything you're going to say. Because if you're not doing it, then whether you read it or you knew it, you didn't really know it and you didn't really read it because you haven't done it. So find the things that you just think. Here's something that come to mind. Just think what it would feel like if there's something you want to do and you're a little bit on the cusp now saying, well, I'm still not sure. I've still got these limiting beliefs. I want you to go 12 months into the future, having not done it, and feel the pain. Feel the pain of regret. And that pain of saying to yourself, I wish I could have done it and I bloody well didn't, and everything I've missed out, and I could have been so good at doing what I'm doing. And then realize it hasn't happened. Those 12 months haven't gone by. You're right in the now, right now. And now you can seize the pleasure by scheduling this out, setting your positive intention to create something in your life. And not just one, as many things as you can. But not all together, by the way, because then you'll get overwhelmed and we don't want that disappointment of overwhelm. Pick one, get it going, and then pick another, and then do the two, and then pick another, and you get three, and just carry on. And you'll find the things that give you more pleasure than you can stand. And you'll probably find a little bit of passion comes through it. Maybe your ultimate vision. We don't go that deep, do we? This is just doing stuff that we're going to say, hell yes to. And never, ever, ever have that feeling of regret. And if you ever think about packing in, I want you to go 12 months in the future, having packed in, and notice what that regret feels like, and then go, whew, I'm glad that hasn't happened yet because now I can make amends. Look at the belief you've got and realize it's based on nothing other than the stuff that's going through your head right now. And we don't want that. We don't need it. We want to be able to look back in 12 months' time. And when we review, we go, do you know what? I've come so far. I've traveled so far. I've achieved so much. Didn't realize I could have done this 12 months ago. And now, well, when I have that in my mind and the belief I have about myself, what could I do in the next 12 months, the next week, the next month, the rest of my life? Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be awesome? Because then we start to live in this wonderful world of pleasure. Yeah, things come along and knock us over a little bit, but we get up again because we have the belief and we know that we can do this. Such an awesome thing to have no regrets. And all we have to do is plan, schedule, and make sure that if we've got any issues, we deal with them. We're going to have some limiting beliefs. We're going to have some negative emotions that come along, that surface, and we deal with them. That's what we do here in Personal Development Unplugged. We deal with those issues and we create the best version of ourselves every day. And if something comes along and knocks us a little kilter, we deal with it because we can. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to, well, this is my little bit, I guess, to help you to get to where you want to be. And if I can, I've got the processes, some information. There's loads here at Personal Development Unplugged. And as you know, I'm always available on email. feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. Send me an email, say, look, I'm going through a little issue, Paul. Could you help me with this? And we'll produce an episode around it. We'll find, if there isn't a process that I know, I will find one. And if there isn't one I can find, I'll create one for you, because that's what we do here. That's what I do here. So you can test me in that. Give me something to do, a challenge, as it were. And then I'll challenge you to create the life that you want, to have more passion than you can stand, to have more fun than you can stand, and all that thing. Enjoy every heartbeat, because that's what we're going to do here. So, as usual, please let me know. Give me some feedback as well if this has excited you, if it's depressed you, if it's whatever. If there's anything that I can do to improve this little old podcast of mine, my little baby of Personal Development Unplugged, please let me know. Any issues, let me know. Let's get things sorted. Let's have some fun. And please, if you would, the only thing I ever ask you to do is, would you share this to at least one person? That's all. Share this episode and tell them about the Personal Development Unplugged podcast. Tell them about me, Paul Cluffy, and we'll grow together. Our dreams will become our reality together, because that's what we're here for. Okay? So until the next time, my friend, when we're together to have a muse, have more fun than you can stand, and fly.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.